Something I've been realizing lately is I spent so much of my life learning how to survive that I never really stopped to ask myself what I wanted my life to actually look like. I knew how to make it through something. I knew how to keep going when I was exhausted. I knew how to adapt. I knew how to pick myself back up, right? But no one teaches you what happens when the emergency is over. How do you actually learn to live and not just survive? And I think that's the season I'm in now. Welcome back to Becoming Her Journey. I'm Lex, and this is episode 7, Reclaiming My Life and Choosing Me After Everything I've Been Through. Surviving became a part of my identity, right? If you've watched previous episodes, you know some of what brought me here. I've talked about family, relationships, control, breaking the generational curses and cycles, and unlearning all of those things. I'm not going to retell all of that today, but I want to talk about who did survival require me to become. Maybe you became extremely independent. Maybe you learned to anticipate the problems, waiting for the other shoe to drop, right? Maybe you felt responsible for keeping everything together and everyone together. Maybe accomplishing the next thing felt safer than just sitting still. And that's something that I'm still working on, just learning how to sit still. Use whatever is genuinely yours, right? But then these are the questions that I'm asking, right? What parts of that woman protected me, and what parts of her do I no longer need? The weird part is that no one talks about peace can feel uncomfortable, right? You are constantly waiting for the chaos. You're waiting for the ups and the downs and the roller coasters and the all the things, and it can become so unfamiliar to learn what it feels like to just have peace, genuine peace. You're not waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're not anticipating someone's negative reaction. You're not trying to make sure that you're the healer, the fixer, the problem solver, the all the things, the therapist. You're not trying to hold everyone together that refuses to hold themselves together, right? You start realizing that it's different when life becomes quieter. It's different when nobody is actively fighting with you, right? When you don't have to survive another crisis or have another crisis to solve. And when you're not constantly defending a decision. Those things can become your normal, and it was my normal for my entire life. I was born into the chaos and was just expected to deal with it, get over it, stop complaining, you should be grateful. All these things that my parents and family would say to me because they felt like their trauma and their hardships trumped mine. I have it better because I didn't have to go through the exact same things they went through. But the real reality is that when life becomes quieter, you start realizing how much of yourself you lost during those chaotic years. You learn that you didn't have an identity. You didn't really know what you were doing. When you realize that life feels good when it's quiet, it can be boring. It can feel like, well, where's the drama? Where's the next fight? Where's the next altercation that I'm going to have? Right? Because that's what you were used to. But I think a lot of people also think that you're going to expect immediate happiness because sometimes you're left thinking, okay, what now? And something that's really hard to really think about is learning to not create chaos simply because chaos feels familiar. I'm now realizing that peace isn't supposed to entertain me, right? Sometimes peace is just quiet, and that's okay. It's just really hard to unlearn because when you're so used to the battles, the fights, the arguments, the energy siphoning, the narcissistic tactics and bullshit, you think that when you cut them off, it's just going to be bliss and everything's great. And that is partly true. But you also have to unlearn everything you've been taught in survival and also re-regulate your nervous system to be okay with being bored sometimes, with it just being quiet, right? Because we're taught that love is chaos, love is control, love is fighting and arguing and then getting back together. But that's not really love, and that's not what we should be dealing with. When you're so used to being the peacemaker, always trying to make everyone be kumbaya and You realize that once you separate, there's not as many arguments, there's not as many crises, there's not as many things boggling down your mind and nervous system to keep you in this chaos circus, right? And it's so important to understand that. I had to really figure out what I actually liked all over again, right? Because I really didn't get a chance to know what I liked, who I wanted to be. You don't get those opportunities when you're born into a chaotic family and with a bunch of narcissists. It just doesn't work that way, right? You're so used to trying to figure everything out and be the peacemaker. It's hard to really be your own person. They don't want you to be your own person, right? Who is Lex when she's not surviving, right? I had to ask myself these questions. Um, what music do I like? What's my favorite color? What's my favorite snacks? Um, how do I want my home to feel? What do I enjoy doing in my day to day life? What hobbies do I like? What do I enjoy doing when nobody needs anything from me, right? What kind of friendships do I want? What makes me feel feminine, creative, spiritual, playful, peaceful? What dreams have I had that weren't about escaping something, right? These are all deep introspective questions that I wrote down that I had to really sit with myself and start journaling. And they're things that seem like it's not a big deal. It seems like it's so mundane. But when you grow up in a family that doesn't want you to have any individuality, those questions may seem easy, but when you really sit down and think about it, your answers may be from what your family wanted you to say, right? You're so used to responding to please others. You're so used to saying certain things to make other people feel better or secure, but you're not doing it for yourself, right? And so these are questions that I really had to sit down with myself and say, you know what? I don't think I know how to answer this. I don't think I know what I really like because I was always willing to adapt to whatever situation I was in. As long as I could keep the peace and be cool, cordial, then I was fine, right? But somewhere along the line, you have to choose yourself. You have to be able to say, you know what? I'm not going to continue down this path. I'm not going to continue to do these things and live this way, live for someone else, live for my family, live for my mom, live for my dad, because it's not about them. My life is my life to live, right? And you have to be willing to really understand that and then dive deeper on what you want as an individual, not what you want because someone else wants it, not want it because you were taught that this is what you were supposed to want. No, like what do you personally really want for yourself without any other opinions, any other suggestions, without anybody's 2 cents? What do you want out of life? For so long, my decisions were reactions to what was happening around me. Reclaiming my life means finally getting to make decisions based off what I actually want and not what was happening around me or the people that were around me, right? Choosing myself meant disappointing other people. You have to understand that when you start choosing yourself, other people will make you feel guilty for choosing yourself because they don't choose themselves. Other people will get mad that you have boundaries because they don't have boundaries. Other people will get mad when you have morals, standards, you know, and all these things because they don't have them. And so they're like, how dare you? How dare you be able to stand up for yourself and fight back because I wasn't afforded that opportunity. I wasn't allowed to do that. I wasn't allowed to do this and that. So you're not either. But that's not how life works, right? If you have to choose yourself and that means disappointing others, then that's what you have to do. You have to be willing to make the hard choices and say, you know what? I love you, but I love myself more. I care about you, but I care about myself more. Because no one is going to save you. God is there every step of the way, but He still requires you to do the work. So, this is going to be more about the cost of reclaiming yourself, right? Because choosing yourself sounds cute online. It sounds cute when you say it out loud, right? But it can actually mean saying no, creating distance, not explaining yourself, not over explaining yourself, right? Being called selfish, allowing someone to be angry with you, changing relationships, accepting that some people preferred the version of you who had lesser boundaries. They liked you when you were weak. They liked you when you didn't have a mind of your own. They liked you when they felt like they could shit on you because it made them feel better, right? But here's the key. Sometimes people don't miss you. They miss the access that they had to you. And it's really hard to understand that sometimes because you think it's love because that's all you've known. But that's not love. And people sometimes don't really want to be around you. They can't stand you, but they still want to have access so they can still pry into your life, so they can still figure out what you're up to, what you're doing, who you're fucking, what person you're with, who your friends are, what job you got. Are you, because they want to know, are you doing better than me? Because they measure their success off of your success. They measure your downfalls and all those things, and that makes them feel better because they're like, oh, as long as I'm doing better than her or him, I'm good. As long as I'm doing better than them, I'm great, right? Because, but that's not a standard to have, right? You shouldn't be trying to compare your life and compare your shortcomings or accomplishments to someone else's. That's the very first way to make yourself fail, because why are you so worried about what I'm doing and you're not worried about your own self? So for me, I had to learn to become my own person. I had to learn to be comfortable with losing other people, other relationships, other things, places, items, to stop losing myself ultimately, right? Because when you place all those things above yourself, it's hard to really grow or to be really honest about where you are in your journey and how you're going to overcome that. Because when you let other people's opinions, projections, ideologies, when you let these people speak negatively over you, it becomes your reality. Because if you're not strong enough, you'll think that all these things are true. You're like, oh, well, they know me the best. There's my mom, that's my aunt, that's my grandma, but they're really just projecting. They don't like that you're doing things that they could never do. They don't like that you're actually making a way for yourself. And they weren't able to do that. They had to sit back, shut up, and listen. And for me personally, like, I cut off my entire family. Everyone from my past, I only talk to one person from my past. I don't associate with any of my family members on either side, my mom or my dad's side. I don't talk to my siblings. I don't talk to my grandmother, my great grandmother. I don't talk to cousins. I had to lose all my friends. I lost relationships. I lost jobs. I lost it all. But I knew that it was imperative for me to grow. And you can't heal in the same places that hurt you. So once I realized that all these people loved me when I was just weak and naive and didn't really know the ins and outs of life, it became very obvious that this isn't where I need to be, right? Because people who love you are going to respect your boundaries. People who love you and respect you are going to cheer you on when you're taking on new ventures, when you're realizing that, you know what, I want more out of life. I don't want my life to be like this. I actually want more. And I shouldn't be judged or condemned for wanting better or more for my life. Just because you don't want more doesn't mean that I can't want more, because it's my life. I can choose ultimately how I want to live this life, because I only have one life to live and I'm going to live it well. Yes, this may have been my past. Yes, I have made bad decisions in my past. Yes, I was brought up in a traumatic home, narcissist, secret societies. I was in all these things unbeknownst to me, because you don't have anything to compare it to when you're young. You think that this is just normal shit. The struggle love is normal. Getting locked up, doing drugs, alcoholics, constantly fighting because we don't know how to express ourselves, whether it's physical or verbal, just all the abuse and all the different ways. And you think, oh, well, this is just how everyone's family is. This is just how everybody is in the world. But when you get an example that's not like yours, you're like, wow, yeah, they're living actually like how I want to live. This is actually how I wanted my family to be, because how I'm living is not right. Like, it's not how I was supposed to be raised. I wasn't supposed to be raised and taught the things I was taught. And when you really realize that, it's like, wow. Like, you know what I mean? It's like you are so like flabbergasted at how your whole life has been a lie. Your whole upbringing was nothing but chaos and trauma and tough lessons that I didn't have to learn the way I did. Yes, you understand tough lessons. Yes, life is going to bring you, life be life in, right? But the way that my family did it was completely unnecessary. It was completely traumatic and toxic and evil and satanic and demonic. It just wasn't how a child should be raised. Period. There's no way around that. I don't give a fuck they didn't have a parenting bug. I don't give a fuck that they couldn't heal. I don't give a fuck about all that shit. Because I was able to break the cycle and start healing myself. They should have been able to at least make the efforts to do that. But they weren't strong enough. And so God chose me to be the cycle breaker. He chose me to stand up and say, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to also share my testimony so other people know they're not alone and other people know that it's possible. It's hard, but it's possible. Nothing in life comes easy. And if it was easy to heal and really let go of all the demons and all the shadows and all the things that we were born with or that we ended up growing up with, um, you realize that, you know what? Like, everyone would be doing it. Everyone would heal and be all peaceful and happy. But there's a lot of people that go through life with a chip on their shoulder because they feel like the world owes them something because they chose to not heal. They chose to not choose themselves. Motherhood made me reclaim my life in different ways, right? I wanted my children to see their mother live, not merely sacrifice, not only survive, not make motherhood her entire identity, right? But actually live my life. I wanted them to see me thrive and live. Yes, there's going to be adversity. Yes, there's going to be struggles. Yes, there's going to be things that ultimately grow me into the person and the woman that I'm meant to be so I can also model that for my kids. But I don't only want my children to know that their mom sacrificed for them. I want them to remember that their mom laughed. Their mom could have fun. Their mom dreamed. Their mom created things. Their mom took care of herself. Their mom had purpose. And their mom actually enjoyed being alive. It's a powerful thing when you can give your children a life that you never had, but also let them see you in your truest forms so they realize, like, okay, like, this is really what life is about. You know what I mean? Because one of the things that I can teach my children is that loving your family and loving yourself are not opposites, right? You have to be able to have that duality. And it's so imperative that while you're becoming a parent, while you're teaching your kids these things and also teaching yourself, is that they model your behavior. And whatever you choose to show them is what they're going to ultimately do. Yes, we can give them the lectures. Yes, we can give them all the things. But if we're not backing it up with action, they're going to say, well, you say this, but you act this way. You do this, but you say that. So things aren't adding up, and I'm just going to do what you're doing because ultimately that's what kids do. They learn by modeling behavior. So, what am I reclaiming, right? I'm reclaiming my voice, my time. Who gets access to it, right? My body. What does it mean for myself to give myself all these things without someone's permission, without someone's 2 cents, without someone's projections? What does caring for myself mean now? My motherhood. What kind of mother am I choosing to be? My spirituality. What does my relationship with God and spirituality look like when it's personal rather than dictated by someone else? My dreams, podcasting, writing, business, creativity, whatever genuinely belongs here. My joy, right? Because all of these things I had to really sit down and think about. I had to write them down because I'm like, there's so much that was taken from me. I was robbed of so many good moments. I was robbed of my childhood. I was robbed of who I was meant to be at a very young age because they wanted to sabotage me. They wanted me to be who they wanted me to be. They didn't want me to be bright and happy and fiery Lexi. They wanted me to be complacent. They wanted me to be subordinate. They wanted me to fall in line and do whatever the fuck they said. But what they said was a bunch of bullshit. How they acted was bullshit. And I refuse to stand for that. I refuse to listen to someone who just wants to scream and have authority without actually having anything to be you're not admirable. How do you want me to look up to you and respect you when you're not doing shit to be respected? You're not doing anything that a leader would do. You're not doing anything that a parent would do that loves their child. You just want me to be your little fucking soldier and just let me go through all the same shit you went through because you didn't have your voice. You didn't have autonomy over your body. You didn't get to choose how you spent your time. You didn't get to choose how your relationship with God looked or if you had one at all, right? And so it's so imperative to really understand that you're reclaiming all the things that were stolen from you without you even noticing and not making your identity the woman who healed from trauma, right? You're allowed to simply become the woman who just enjoys her life. Reclaiming myself doesn't mean I've arrived. I don't want anyone watching this thinking reclaiming my life means I've suddenly have everything figured out, right? There are still days that I struggle. There are still things that I'm learning and unlearning. There are still parts of myself that I'm meeting for the first time. And the difference is now is that I'm participating in the creation of my own life. I'm not waiting for my life to happen to me anymore. I'm directly making steps to participate in my own life without the slander, without everyone else's ideas of what I should be doing or what they think I'm doing wrong. And maybe somebody watching this has spent so long trying to survive that you don't even know what you want anymore. Don't pressure yourself to have all the answers because that's what I used to do to myself. I need all the answers, I need all the solutions, I need everything right here, right now. And that's just not how life is. And you'll drive yourself crazy trying to get every answer. Start smaller, right? What makes you feel peaceful? What makes you feel like yourself? What are you doing because you genuinely want it? And what are you doing because you've always believed that you had to? That's a really deep question and something to really reflect on. If nobody was disappointed by your decision, what would you choose? Those are things that I had to really think about because I was always worried about disappointing somebody. I was always worried about, oh, how's this going to affect this person? How is this going to this? And it's like, girl, it's your life. How are you more concerned with everyone else's feelings but not your own? How are you so worried about what everyone else is going to think but not what you think? You put everyone else before yourself and then you wonder why you're unhappy. You wonder why you can't make decisions on your own or for the best of yourself because you're always worried about who is going to benefit from it, who's going to feel bad, who's going to be pissed off, who's going to be, feeling some kind of way that I chose myself, right? And that was a really hard pattern for me to break because when you grow up having to cater to everyone else's feelings and not your own, you make decisions based off of other people and how they're going to react and how they're going to feel. Episode 5 was about breaking the cycle. Episode 6 was about unlearning what the cycle has taught me. And episode 7 is me realizing that removing everything that doesn't belong isn't the end of the journey. Now I get to decide what goes in its place. That's what reclaiming my life means to me. I don't want the greatest accomplishment of my life to be simply that I survived everything that tried to break me. I want to experience the life that I fought so hard to keep. So I'm choosing me. I'm choosing peace. And I'm choosing purpose. I'm choosing joy. I'm choosing the life that I'm still becoming. And that is something that is so profound because when you choose yourself, you choose peace, you choose your purpose, you choose your creativeness, it brings something out of you that you weren't even ready to experience. You weren't even ready. You didn't even know that you needed that. And it's so empowering when you finally choose yourself. If you're reclaiming your life too, tell me one thing you're choosing for yourself in this next chapter. Subscribe because we're going deeper from here. And also, I'm going to start bringing you into some of the actual stories behind everything we've been talking about. So stay tuned for next episode. And remember, this is more than a podcast, it's a journey. Welcome home.